just another show. Leave 'em laughing when you go. And if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked for love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions. I recall, I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes that sprout. I looked at life that way. But now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads. They say I've changed. Well, something's lost, and something's gained. Living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions. I recall, I really don't know life at all. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions. I recall, I really don't know life at all.
Whoever you are, whoever you love, whatever your name for the sacred, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. Good morning, my name is Monika Zasada, and I was supposed to be the worship associate today, but after more than usual, very intense weekend of bossing people around in my projects, my voice is on strike. Thankfully, my marvelous partner in crime, Anastasia, agreed to take over the privilege and the duties of the worship associate.
Good morning. We acknowledge that we live on ancestral land of the Shinnecock, Montaukett, and Cutchogue. As Unitarian Universalists, we come together in worship each week to honor what is of worth. In this hour, we pause the everyday rush and flow of our lives in reverence and thanksgiving to connect with what is sacred, to remember our commitments to each other and the world. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce our speaker today, Dana N. Moore. Dana has generously joined us for a second time, and we're very glad to have you here. Dana N. Moore is a lifelong practitioner of love at the center. She calls the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Montclair her spiritual home, and joyfully serves Unitarian Universalism in her work with youth, young adults, and diverse communities. Dana delights in studying feminine leadership and world religion at Starr King School for the Ministry, where she represents the student body government as vice president. A member of the UUA Commission on Appraisal, Dana is actively engaged in national leadership and is a co-author of their highly anticipated publication on the changing landscape of Unitarian Universalism. Dana loves cheese of all kinds, purple everything, and preaching and singing about love. Our musicians today are Emily Weitz and Chaskey. Thank you for being here. Our tech hosts are Carl Wittenberg on computer for those on Zoom and Donna Sutton on camera. There is a live transcript available on Zoom and hearing-assisted devices for here. Now is the time to silence your devices. Whether you are joining us in the meeting house or from your home, we invite you to settle into this sacred hour free from distractions. You will find printed announcements in your order of service or the link in your chat, and you can get announcements that you would like announced to the congregation, to our administrator by Tuesday of the week you would like them announced. I'm going to pause now for anyone who has an announcement to make this morning may come to the front.
Hi, I'm Pam. As part of our ongoing UUCSF volunteer service projects that will be at the table, on Thursday, May 1st, or May Day, from 10 to 11:30, my sister Linda Ingringhoff, who's a longtime member and former president, has organized an Activate America postcard writing event at my house. May Day is associated with workers' rights and is also part of the National Day of Action, like the hands-off protests that some of us participated in. These postcards are being directed toward people living in different areas in the U.S. where we have a chance of making a positive change. Please see me or contact Linda, and we have the other service projects also in a handy-dandy refrigerator printout for you to please volunteer. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John. Just a quick reminder, at noon today, we're going to have our annual budget hearing, and I hope that many of you will want to stay and hear about our budget process.
Thank you. Before we go further, are there any visitors joining us this morning that would like to introduce themselves? Anyone on Zoom? Okay. Please take a moment now to greet your neighbor, to say good morning, to just extend a welcome to anyone here in the room and by Zoom.
Our chalice lighting words come from Martha Kirby Capo. This purest of flames. Let this purest of flames kindle in each of our hearts a pledge to justice, a commitment to freedom, and a reverent awe for the crystalline glories that sparkle along our footpaths. I'd like to invite you to rise in body or spirit for our gathering hymn, This Little Light of Mine. That is number 118 in your gray hymnals. Thank you. Bless you. Blessings all around. And thank you for joining in that familiar tune, one that calls us to let our light shine in the world, a message we often share with our children and youth, encouraging them to bring their gifts and share them in the world. In indigenous culture, and in cultures all around the world of First Peoples, the young ones are encouraged to learn and shine as part of community. In 1977, Indigenous Peoples Day across the Northeast was first introduced. But Indigenous culture is honored all over the world. Today, I'm going to share a story of Indigenous wisdom that comes from Australia. In every corner of the globe, Indigenous people have lived and thrived for thousands and thousands of years before explorers discovered them and took away their voices. So in honor of our ancestors and First Nations people all over the world, our story comes from Australia. It's called Finding Our Heart, a story about the Uluru Statement for young Australians, and its author is Thomas Mayer. He says to the children of Australia, "We live in a big, beautiful country, and we come from many different parts of the world. Together, our nation is called Australia. There's a big red rock in the middle of Australia called Uluru. Before the country was called Australia, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people were there for thousands of years. They cared for their country, plants, and animals. They sang, they danced, they worked, they learned and shared. They were the first to bake bread. And they invented many ways to live with the land, and they have the oldest living culture on the planet. When British explorer Captain James Cook arrived in 1770, their way of life changed. They were treated badly and ignored, so they protested and asked all Australians to listen to them, because their whole beloved country was sad, and they needed to find their nation's heart to make it better. Their prime minister, the leader of all Australians, kind of like our president, asked, "How do we find the nation's heart? Where do you think the heart of the nation is?" So with many other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders from all points of the southern sky, they showed the Prime Minister how to find the heart of the nation. Together, they created a covenant called the Uluru Statement from the Heart. It's a document written by First Nations people from all over. First, they started with the truth. The heart of the nation did not come with the ships. It did not grow on the farms. The explorers couldn't find it, though they searched far and wide. It wasn't in the banks or in the ground, or in the big cities. It wasn't in the rule book. So where could it be? The elders, young and old, shared that the heart of the nation has always been right here. The nation's heart is inside of us, here in our voices. When they all came together at Uluru, they invited all Australian people to accept their voice and their culture as a gift. They invited everyone to listen to their heart and their songs. They asked, "See our heart and our dances. Learn where our heart is from in our stories and languages, and how we have crafted for our environment." We will only find the heart of our nation and make our country better when First Nations voices are heard. In these challenging times, how might we find our heart, the heart of our nation? I invite you to ponder that with me as we move through our services today.
May your roots grow deep. May your branches spread far. May you find the world to be a wonderful place and leave it better for those who follow. This is the time when we collect our offering. We receive 2 collections here. The green basket is for the work that sustains the congregation and the meeting house, and the blue basket is for the Helping Hand Fund that supports local organizations. 30% of these donations go to the minister's discretionary fund. You can also use the QR code in your order of service.
You don't have to be okay on those dark and lonely days. Rush a river through your heart. Sometimes
Thank you. This is the time when we enter into a bit of silence together. Silence is a luxury. Let's enjoy it together. I'm going to invite us to take 3 unhurried breaths. And once we do, I will invite you to keep your eyes closed for a minute while I read some of the words of the Joni Mitchell song that we just heard. So together we will inhale and exhale. And again, inhale and exhale. And one final time, inhale and exhale. In the words of Joni Mitchell, keep a good heart. That's the most important thing in life. It's not how much money you can make or what you can acquire. The art of it is to keep a good heart. Now is the time in the service when we share our joys and concerns. If you're in the meeting house, please come to the microphone. If you're joining us online, please raise your hand or indicate in the chat, and the host will unmute you. We light 1 candle for each of the joys and concerns. We light a final candle for the rest of all of us who may not be able to join us this morning, but for all of our joys and concerns. Thank you. We were planning to do the hymn after Dana speaks again. Is that okay? Oh, yeah. Okay. Just wanted to say, if anyone has a desire for additional support, please know that we have a Care and Connection Committee that's happy to extend themselves outside of the time of the service.
wisdom of the Canadian Aboriginal elders is poignantly captured in this poem by David Bouchard. It reminds us what it means to be a human being and the gravity of our responsibility as humans to preserve the beauty and harmony of the earth. This is an abbreviated version of the poem, "The Elders Are Watching." They told me to tell you they believed you. When you said you would take a stand, they thought that you knew the ways of nature. They thought you respected the land. They want you to know that they trusted you with the earth, the water, the air, with the eagle, hawk, and the raven, the salmon, the whale, and bear. You promised you'd care for the cedar and fir, the mountains and the sea and sky. To the elders, these are the essence of life. Without them, a people will die. They wonder about risking the salted waters, the ebb and flow of running tide. You seem to be making mistakes almost daily. They're angry. They're hurting. They cry. They watch as you dig the ore from the ground. You've gone much too deep into the earth. The pits and scars are not a part of the dream for their home, for the place of their birth. They told me to tell you the time has come. They want you to know how they feel, so listen carefully. Carefully look toward the sun. The elders are watching. They're starting to question the things that you said about bringing so much to their land. You promised you'd care for their daughters and sons, that you'd walk with them hand in hand. But with every new moon, you seem to be more concerned with your wealth than the few women and children, their bloodline, their heartbeat, who are now so dependent on you. You are offering to give back bits and pieces of the land they know to be theirs. Don't think they're not grateful. It's just hard to say so when wondering how much you care. Now, friend, please be clear and understand, not everything's dark and glum. They are seeing things that are making them smile. And that's part of the reason I've come. The color green has come back to the land. It's for people who feel like me, for people who treasure what nature gives, for those who help others to see. And there are those whose actions show they see the way things could be. They do what they can, give all they have, just to save one ancient tree. Like the sun when it shines, like the full moon at night, like 100 totems tall, it has brightened their sky, and that's partially why they've sent me to you with their call. Now, I've said all the things that I told them I would. I hope I am doing my share. If the beauty around us is to live through this day, we'd better start watching and care, for the elders too are watching. Thank you, Megan. Beloveds, thank you again for inviting me into your home and into your pulpit. It is such a joy to be able to share messages of love, of light shining and beaming from our hearts, and how we get there. Earlier this morning, you heard a story about the Uluru Statement from the Heart. In an effort to reclaim their culture, agency, and heal their community, the First Nations people of Australia came together to create and promote the Uluru Statement of the Heart, called by their ancestors who they too knew were watching, informed by their histories, indigenous wisdoms, and a desire to pass down their living traditions for the well-being of their children and future generations. Past, present, and future elders, wise ones, called the people of Australia to be active participants in the revitalization of their country. They welcomed communities far and wide to be a part of their success, the transformation of the country who had colonized and disenfranchised the Torres Strait Islander people for more than 200 years. They invited the world to be in covenant with them. I believe that we as Unitarian Universalists have a similar approach to inviting the world into our spaces to do good work together. The Uluru Statement calls the heart of the nation the voice of the people. And in Unitarian Universalism, our covenants serve as the voice of the people. They represent our intentional conversations about values-based actions that we hope and expect from one another. Our covenants hold us accountable to one another, can challenge us to grow, and inspire our beloved communities. When we practice heart-centered listening to one another, our covenants can call us toward deeper relationship and even be useful tools in resolving conflict. The indigenous wisdom of the world's tradition acknowledge our relationships as a form of medicine. Now, again, I like to say that covenants are the heart of a community. If the nation's heart is within us and within our voices, then the voices of our community, the covenants, is our form of welcome. It is how we put our values on display. Our covenants are like the map of an amusement park. Think of an amusement park that we call UU, all of the fun that we get to have together, the great events that we get to share. And so when you visit a new place, be it a museum or library, school or airport, what's one of the first things that you do? As humans, we seek out information to orient ourselves and understand the environment. If you're a sighted person, you might look for signs, directions, and pamphlets. If you're physically able, you might feel your way through a new space, engaging all of our senses. We listen for people and directions. We smell the pages of old books and the coffee brewing. We do this as a form of safety and survival, as well as an intrinsic human desire for acceptance, curiosity, and even honor. According to psychologist Dr. Stephen Rice, there are 16 basic human desires that drive our everyday actions and make us who we are, 3 of which I just mentioned: acceptance, which is the desire for approval, self-acceptance, and trust in intuition, emotions, and reason. Curiosity, the desire for knowledge, wonder, and connecting with the present moment. And order, the desire for stability and organization. Honor, the desire to obey moral codes, construct an upstanding character, and be seen positively by others. Covenanting is one way that we satisfy those desires and provide opportunities to experience and satiate other human desires like social contact, idealism, power, independence, and even romance. As a community, our covenants represent who we are, what we value, and what we need and desire to be a healthy community. Now remember, the covenants of different communities will be very different and look different. Communities healing from trauma will have different needs than communities approving a new budget. Communities that are just forming or have had a lot of loss and grief, maybe even misconduct. As experienced humans and adults, we know that certain topics activate feelings of discomfort and anxiety within us. Not all, but most. Which is why global social norms include things like not discussing religion, politics, or money at the dinner table. Because when this happens, our response systems become unregulated and unpredictable, which can equal a feeling of unsafe, being unsafe. So we use our covenants to communicate and create safety within our communities. But how do we know what we need and how we get there? To serve us well, covenanting requires that we be in relationship with one another. And it doesn't have to be forever. David Gertin writes about conversational covenants, which are agreements between two or more people that help us to set rules and abide by them, rules of engagement in a congregation or a conversation. These rules are intended to help people work in harmony, to create psychologically safer spaces for difficult or seemingly impossible conversations. Have you ever had an impossible conversation? Impossible conversations are defined as controversial or emotive. They include emotive topics that feel futile because it occurs between people with radically different ideas, beliefs, moral values, or political views. Without some constraints, almost invariably, an impossible conversation results in hostility and shuts down dialogue. Relationships are jeopardized or even destroyed in the process. In challenging times, our covenants can actually guide us through conflict and call us back into respectful behavior, right relationship. And done well, our covenants call us back into community time and time again. When creating covenants for youth communities, our youth come together and discuss what they need to be okay, to feel welcome in a space or a room. They fearlessly discuss the things that are triggering or worrisome that they might like to leave outside of the sacred space and container that they are making. But one of the most important things that our youth are so great at doing is acknowledging that conflict is a part of relationship and community. And so within their covenants, they include ways to come back together when conflict arises. It is so refreshing to see the youngest of our faith, our future leaders, practicing being in community in this way. It gives me so much hope for the future. When we are faced with the challenges and realities of the past, it is hard to walk into a room of young ones doing the work of tomorrow and not feel a sense of hope and renewal. It's so interesting because from these experiences, I have gathered and love sharing with communities that conflict is the dance that one must do when covenants are broken. The work of conflict to come back into right relationship. And here is why. We create covenants so that we have an understanding of what each individual needs. When your heart is hurting and words are triggering, it can be challenging to constantly enter a space where the things that pull on your heartstring are being brought up. If there's too much, we might lose you as a member of community. You might choose not to join us yet again, but bravery and courage says, I'd like to add something to our covenant. It could be as simple as, I will be on time for meetings, and if not, I will call and let you know that I am running behind. It could be using or not using specific language, honoring pronouns, using updated and new terms. But when we step outside of these agreements that we have made, as we will because we are human, we already have a built-in process through our covenanting that invites us back into relationship. Because our covenants represent our goal of being in right relationship, there's no need to fear that conflict when it comes up, because we've already agreed that our goal is to be in right relationship. So we know that on the other side of what may come is that harmony, is that invitation back, is deeper relationship. When we're hurting, when we step outside of the agreements that we have made, and someone invites us back in by referencing our covenants, it is an act of courage and an act of love. It is courage to say, ouch, I have been hurt. It is courage to voice that in a community and trust that another will receive you and hear you with care. It is also an invitation. It says, I love you. I respect you. I want to know you more deeply, and I want you to know me more deeply. So I am willing to share my hurt with you in hopes that we can heal together, in hopes that we won't continue this cycle of pain or perpetuate harm. How refreshing. Does that change your outlook on covenanting or conflict and coming back into relationship? Can you imagine yourself saying, I love you, and so I want you to know when I am hurt. I care for you so deeply. Our relationships are so important that I am willing to step outside of my comfort zone to bring you into understanding and move forward together. Our covenants ask us to go back, to seek guidance from our written words, and to understand what we are being called to do. Like the Uluru Statement, we must find our hearts, and the heart of the community, the heart of your home, is represented within your covenants. Covenants require that we start with truth, just like the Aboriginal people of Australia did. They understood that truth and trust was necessary for their healing. When harm is done, we must take a step back to review the process and what happened. Like doctors and scientists seeking to solve a medical mystery, we first take an inventory, maybe your medical history. And we know that it serves no one to omit a history of disease, death, or devastation. It doesn't lead to our healing and only wastes our helpers' time. The goal is to root out the problem, to find the cause of the disease. We must see and assess the wound to be able to treat it effectively. And I can tell you that no surgeon, medically licensed, walks into an operating room and turns their eyes away from their subject, saying, "Ew, I don't want to see that." No surgeon operates blindly. They come in eyes wide open. They come in ears open to hear the community around them, their nurses and team, as they begin to operate, to understand. They listen to each other, to work together as a team, to see past and present, to determine the next steps and best outcomes. And then they move into action. From this point, one can irrigate a wound to begin healing, excise the cancer to restore health, or diagnose the disease for treatment. The Uluru Statement determined that the indigenous people needed truth-telling and treaty and a voice to Parliament to be in relationship in the same way our faith communities need truth about our past aches and pains, about our treaties and agreements of understanding, so that we can respect and not harm each other. A voice to Parliament equals a voice to power, another intrinsic desire, which Dr. Stephen Rice refers to as the desire for achievement, competence, and leadership, a voice to be heard and represented, to be together in covenant with one another, is power. To be able to share our voices and have our needs met equals courage and power. The Reverend Emily Gage says from the 7 Principles in Word and Worship that justice, equity, and compassion in human relationships points us towards something beyond inherent worth and dignity. It points us to the larger community. It gets at collective responsibility, reminds us that treating people as human beings is not simply something we do one-on-one, but something that has systemic implications and can inform our entire cultural way of being. Justice, equity, and compassion are all a part of the same package. This is our work, friends, to come back into covenant with one another, with ourselves and each other and the world, to employ and enact our values, to transform the world. We must do this now and not leave it for another generation. The Uluru Statement of the Heart says that the nation's heart is in us, in our voices. And we must do this work using our power, the power of our voices, wherever people are willing to hear it and even where they are not. We must be willing to invite people into the work of transformation, of justice, of equity, of care, to use our voices to sing the songs of our faith and our ancestors, to sing peace and power to one another. When we use our voices, when we engage our covenants deeply, there is a sense of peace that befalls us, a sense of community and right relationship, togetherness. And from that comes limitless possibility for what is possible in our world. It is my hope that each individual might feel peace running through them like a river, mind, body, and spirit. And so I invite you to rise as you are able in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn, number 100, Peace Like a River. Beloveds, in challenging times, our covenants can guide us through conflict. They call us back to what we value, what is important in our communities and our relationships. Don't be afraid to do the dance with one another, to be back in right relationship. May we continue to dance to the music of our ancestors and elders who hold us now and always. May it be so, and amen. Please take a moment to gently guide yourself back to your seats as we enjoy a beautiful ending. Before we hear the beautiful music to Ramona from our wonderful musicians, let us together extinguish our chalice with our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of wisdom, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Ramona, come closer, shut softly your watery eyes. The pains of your sadness will pass as your senses will rise. The flowers of the city, though death-like, get breath-like at time. But there's no use in trying to deal with the dying, though I cannot explain that in lines. Your cracked country lips I still wish to kiss, as to be by the strength of your skin. Your magnetic movements still capture the minutes I'm in. But it grieves my heart to see you trying to be a part of a world that just don't exist. It's all just a dream, babe, a vacuum, a scheme, babe, that sucks you into feeling like this. I can see that your head has been twisted and fed with worthless foam from the mouth. I can see you are torn between staying and returning back to the south. You've been fooled into thinking that the finishing end is at hand. But there's no one to beat you, no one to defeat you, except the thoughts of yourself feeling bad. I've heard you say many times that you're better than no one, and no one is better than you. If you really believe that you know you got nothing to win and nothing to lose, from fixtures and fortunes and friends, your sorrow does stem. That hype you and type you, making you feel that you gotta be just like them. I'd forever talk to you, but soon my words, they'd turn into a meaningless ring. Oh, deep in my heart, I know there's no help I can bring. Everything passes, everything changes. Just do what you think you should do.